Two, y'all, we need to get popping here.
The applicant group appearing before the board today is Mena Charter School of Lee County. This interview will be led by Chair Alex Quigley. They're proposing to locate in Lee County. The proposed grade levels and projected student enrollment are as follows. Year 1, K through 5, 252 students. Year 2, K through 6, 324 students. Year 3, K through 7, 396 students. Year 4, K through 8, 468 students. Year 5, K through 8, 540 students. There was no LEA impact or due diligence completed for this application. Pass-fail ratings are as follows. Mission, purposes, and goals, 4 pass, 1 fail. Education, 4 pass, 1 fail. Governance and capacity, 4 pass, 1 fail. Operations, 4 pass, 1 fail. Finance, 4 pass, 1 fail. This applicant is requesting acceleration. They are a repeat applicant. They previously received a full interview. They did not receive third-party assistance, and they do not intend to partner with an EMO or a CMO. And this applicant has had representation at every ready-to-open planning year session held thus far.
I am Jeanette Peace. I am an attorney, and I am vice chair of the board, and I am the chair of operations.
I am Stella Farrow, a retired educator with 38 years of experience. I've been retired for 9 years, and I will serve as the administrator.
Good afternoon. My name is Billy Bradley. I am a project specialist for PricewaterhouseCoopers. I'm the finance chair for the board.
Hi, my name is Silo Macias. I'm an IT for Lee County Schools for 5 years. I'm an active member of my community, Hispanic community in town. I serve for the curriculum committee and operations.
Good afternoon. My name is Bishop Robert Williams. Pastor 2 churches, and I work on the executive board of our international organization. I also serve on the governance.
My name is Claudette Griffin. I served as a site director for At the School program for 3 years.
Good afternoon. My name is Myron Jones. I serve as the secretary and on curriculum. I'm a retired educator.
Good afternoon. My name is Joyce Williams, and I work on curriculum.
Good afternoon. Name is Sean Williams. Serve as board chair, former chairman of Lee County School Board. Also not on our board, but we have with us today Mr. Bob Beatty, who is our media and campaign specialist. Mr. Josh Caldwell, who is served from Collier as our realtor, and Dean, who is our builder for BCCG Construction.
Great. Okay, so we gotta shut this thing off. Can you tell us
when she calls?
Yeah, just
we can dial back in, I guess. If we could turn it way down, it would have been okay. But you know.
So I guess we can start by talking about some of the questions and issues around around the acceleration item. So if we want to touch base about that or begin with that conversation.
Yes, sir. We would ask that you would find that there is a clear and compelling need for the accelerated planning year. We are basing our request for acceleration on the fact that, first of all, there are no other charter schools in Lee County serving elementary students. Ascend Leadership Academy opened this year, and they opened for 6th and 7th graders only. Secondly, we would point out that the demographics in Lee County calls for service to an underserved population, which are minority students, Hispanic, as well as African American. The growth in our county has been disproportionate among the Hispanic students and lower socioeconomic households. 34% of our students are now Hispanic. The state average is 16%. We believe a compelling need is demonstrated in that for the first time in our county's history, minority students, 34% Hispanic, 20% African American, are now in the majority, and that those parents and those families need choices. There are not any other choices in Lee County. We also believe that another compelling need is that in 2016 and 2017, only 39% of the students in Lee County were proficient in math, and only 38% were proficient in reading. We also note that there is a demonstrated need for charter school in the proposed location, because the location that we have been able to secure is sits within a 5-mile radius of a major Hispanic and African American community. And we have participated in all of the Ready to Open process. Our board has done quite a bit of work since we were here before you the last time. We took all of your suggestions to heart. We have built collaborative relationships with Leaders Building Leaders and Dr. Thomas Miller and Katie Reitenheimer. We have built a collaborative relationship with North Carolina Teachers of Tomorrow, with Preferred Meals, Preparing Insurance. We now have a social media presence with over 100 families indicating their intent to enroll if we are able to open. I would also put an asterisk or a pin there, because we have solicited intents to enroll without disclosing our location, and we believe that the location is such a sought-after area that will also be a major attraction for our county. We attended the summer conference. We have had training from multiple people with charter school experience. We've vetted vendors, and those vendors that we vetted, we've made sure all have charter school experience and good track records. So we believe that we have met the criteria in terms of demonstrating a clear and compelling need for the accelerated planning year, and that there is an exceptional need for a charter school or for choice in our proposed location. The programs that we're going to introduce to our county that will help the students that we intend to serve include year-round. Currently, there's only one other year-round elementary school in our county. Small class size, 18 students per class, dual language component, teacher looping, the STREAM curriculum, a no suspension policy, and emphasis on technology, but with the technology being no more than 30% of the school day. So we would ask that you would consider us for acceleration.
Thank you. Does anyone have any specific questions around specific to the acceleration?
I mean, mine goes a lot to enrollment and being able to hit the enrollment. So can you talk a little bit about how you're going to hit this enrollment, based on the number? LEA, the LEA is it's in a small county. I mean, Lee County's not, huge. There's some population in Lee County, but it's not a huge county. So how are you going to be able to reach this number of students?
Certainly, sir. Thank you. Tony P. stated that off of the intent, those were parents. Our number of students between when we came the first time, we had 134. When we came to the meeting for the first meeting of the year with you, We're now at 244 letters of intent for students. Our goal is 252. We're well aware that we need to be around 500, and all of this has been done without disclosing location. The location sits right in the midst of two low poverty areas in our community that is Hispanic and African American, and are within walking distance to the school for those two areas of our county. The elementary school that serves that school now is overpopulated. It's 750 plus students is the elementary school that serves the area where we're going to be located, and that's about 6 miles away from our current location.
So you're planning on going door to door through those
We
communities?
did a door-to-door campaign on this Saturday. We have continual and neighborhood meetings, but we will be door-to-door most likely throughout the Lee County area, but especially that community right around the school.
And also in terms of marketing our school, we do have our marketing expert from Media Integrations here. Bob is here, and he can attest to all of the efforts that we will be continuing collaboratively, from open houses to door-to-door, handing out brochures at churches, etc.
Well, location's probably very important in, you know, what you're talking about. On the facility, is something the facility you could start tomorrow facility-wise? Or is it something that there's gonna have to be work done?
Facility is going to have to be worked. We met with the city. You should have a letter from the mayor of the city in your package. We met with the city planners, but the builder is here and has assured us that if we get the nod, that we can have children in seats in that building on the 12th of October for our opening date. August, sorry. What did I say, October? 12th of August for our opening date.
Could you have them in by July 12th? I guess that's my, that's where we hit most of the people wanting to delay is that, hit some hiccup with the facility. And that's very important when it comes to acceleration.
12th of July?
Yeah, we can accelerate the schedule to meet that.
He said they could accelerate the schedule to meet it by the 12th of July.
Okay.
I'm not trying to be.
I'm not telling you to go to start July 12th. I just want to know, could it be done?
Could it be done? Yes, sir.
Yeah, because that's what I say. You shoot for July 12th, and then that gives you 30 days to play
You might
with.
actually get open August 12th.
That means you might get open August 12th. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
What builder has ever said they can't get it done?
That's probably a pretty good point too. Has there ever been a builder that says no, we can't do it? But
Yes, because actually we did have talked to other builders who did not feel they could get it done. But we brought him today because it's not just our word.
Could you describe the scope of the work that needs to get done in the facility to get it ready?
Sure. It's an upfit. It's a whole 50,000. Well, it's the whole project, but we're doing phases. The whole project that we acquired is 90,000 square feet. Our phase one is 50,000 square feet, which was an old flea market, Kmart, open bay area. All we have to do is go in and put up walls and hide the beams that's going up on the floor and divide the building. So it's pretty much just a warehouse that's wide open, old shopping center that is just, as we've looked at several buildings. If you give me liberty, thank you for the 1 month. You didn't plan on giving us that month, but it worked to our favor in the sense that the package that we submitted was a different, we submitted a new LOI for you. The other building, we would have had to say, no, we could not open up in time. This was a godsend. The location is a godsend, and this building gives us the ability to do everything we need to do, plus some in that location. So thank you for the 1 month extension.
Are you gonna have to do upfit for bathrooms?
Bathrooms are there. Yeah, bathrooms.
But meet the code for kids?
It will, because in kindergarten, you have to put in bathrooms for the kindergarten classes, so they have that, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I don't want to. We're 15 minutes in.
Let's go to the app.
All this is helpful. I want us to move on to the app. I imagine we'll come back to this. So, questions on mission, purposes, and goals. And Ms. Picaro is going to dial in. Ms. Moncan.
I
I had I put a comment on the original when we did the clarification piece. The mission itself doesn't speak to stream or dual language, but in the ed plan, that was mentioned a lot. So I'm just unclear why the mission wouldn't also have that as the focus. I mean, the mission is what's the driving force for your school.
Do you want to comment on that?
Yes. Could somebody explain that?
Let's talk, could someone talk about the kind of disconnect between what's in the ed plan and what's in the mission in terms of stream and dual language and whatnot?
Number one, it was space requirements for a mission statement was our first challenge that we had. So we tried to narrow it down, and we think that innovative thinkers and lifelong learners, that both the dual language helps them to be innovative, starting to teaching that at the early age, and the stream helps them to have the tools to become lifelong learners with learning how to incorporate through the curriculum.
Right. I totally understand the components, but if this is going to be a focus of your school, that should be presented to the parents who are potentially putting their kids in your school. We are going to be a stream dual language school. You know, as a parent, you really don't know what the focus is with this mission. You know, do you see the disconnect?
I understand you. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I'd like somebody to explain the dual language part. Is it you're just going to have classes in the language, or how are you going to do that?
Immersion or?
Is it immersion?
We do not plan to do immersion. Our plan for the dual language is that our children will be able to speak conversational Spanish, to have a conversation with anyone who is a native Spanish speaker. We will not have a formal Spanish program involved in subject verb conjugation, things of that type. We plan for instruction to be delivered, some in Spanish and some in English, but very with the teachers incorporating this in their instruction, the students learning from each other and starting very simple and incorporating a few words such as colors and numbers as we begin, and taking that farther and farther as we go along. Our goal is that by the time the child reaches 5th grade, if they start with us in kindergarten, that they will be able to speak Spanish fluently.
So are they going to get the language instruction, the Spanish language instruction, an hour a day, or?
No, it will be incorporated within the regular instruction. Okay. The goal is, say, if our students are learning to count in kindergarten, they will learn to count in Spanish as well as in English. If we're talking about colors, starting very early, they would do that. As we progress to the higher grade levels, it would be incorporated in the regular curriculum, the regular instruction, but not as a separate language class.
So I thought that was immersion.
That sounds more like immersion than.
It's definitely more immersive.
So will all your homeroom teachers be bilingual?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
No, they will not. We do plan to have some fluent Spanish speakers, and that will be part of our curriculum as we work with our non-Spanish teachers. As they learn the language themselves, they will also present that to their classes. So no, we will have some of both. We do have a focus where we will focus on Spanish speaking teachers as well as language arts, and we have some partnerships and some interest with agencies that can provide trained individuals that, if not certified, that we can get certified with proper training, who are native Spanish speakers.
Can we keep keep moving into the ed plan, because I think all these things are kind of tied together. We're kind of in there anyways. Mr. Walker and I were just talking about the kind of division between the no out of school suspension policy. I'm kind of curious about that. It's different.
Certain things comes with that, with the thought pattern. First of all, retired 27 years law enforcement, was chief of police of school system in Jones County for over 7 years. So when we were talking about suspensions, the pluses and the minuses, we know what happens when kids are suspended. So several things we have put in as components is one, counseling. So normally when a child gets suspended, they're sent, not suspended, get in trouble in the classroom, they're from the classroom to the office. In our case, they'll go from classroom to a mindset room with a counselor. Let's talk about it. Try to get that kid back into the classroom as soon as possible. If it's a case where, you know, it's one of the statutories, that's automatic. If it's one of those situations where we've done everything we can through counseling, parental involvement, and all, sure, we're not saying we will never suspend. It's just our number one focus and goal is to keep the kid in school. We'll also have such as an in-school suspension for kids that need to go there for a short term.
Okay, so it's not a no OSS.
That's correct.
Okay. I had some questions on the ed plan, specifically. So one thing that I noticed, and you know, somewhat tied to budget in terms of how you're gonna kind of make all the pieces come together. Well, first, I guess let me start with this first, because we right off from the jump in the instructional program, you talk about each student having electronic device, technology integration, blended learning, kind of more so than, you know, that leads the ed plan component even more so than anything related to language immersion or whatnot. Talk to me about what is this really going to look like in the classroom? How are we going to make these pieces come together?
As Attorney Peace shared earlier, our goal is to have students on screen with technology no more than 30% of the day.
Right.
We will have normal instruction that will be supplemented with technology. It will be integrated with technology. We're looking at a couple of plans and have some others in place, Discovery Ed, looking at with ScoopPad, some of our members of the board have actually worked with that in the after-school program and have had great success with that. So we're looking at a combination of teacher-led instruction supplemented and integrated with the technology piece.
So that means like kids will be when would they do that type of, when would they do that supplemental?
As part of the instruction, say, I currently teach part-time and I use technology within my class. Sometimes it may be used for introduction of new material. Sometimes as the instructor, I may introduce a new material. The individual practice can be technology, okay, or it could be enrichment as well as the remediation through. That would depend on the content material that we're teaching, as you know, as well as the programs that we're using, how much they have. We will not use technologies just for the sake of technology. It will be there for enrichment, remediation, as well as helping to bring the curriculum all together as one piece.
So then, so I'm looking at kind of the schedule that's outlined in the application. Walk me through kind of because really it looks like the core instruction that would be, I guess, with the homeroom teacher would end at 11. And then we have
Okay.
Well, 1 p.m. depending on when they go to lunch. So
Right.
then after 1, then we begin the enrichment rotation. So talk to me about how is that structured? Like, what are we really talking about there?
Okay, there we're talking about our physical education, our arts, and when we look at the arts, we're talking about some dance, music, as well as the visual arts, and possibly some drama, depending on the staff available, who we can hire, and we're looking at hiring part-time individuals to fill those slots. And that would be on a rotating basis through the week. The child would have, excuse me, where I'll use the word a special / elective, that they would rotate through that with, if you look at our schedule, the enrichment rotation starts at 1:40, so that would give them the opportunity to have a rotation, I would say one block, it's not actually a block, but for one set period of time each day of the week.
You're gonna have 6 grades all going to this special at the same time?
A lot of that's gonna depend on the staff that we can get. We're looking at hiring part-time retired teachers for that. And the goal is if we can, because of the flexibility with part-time and the fact that will be able to hire more individuals than if I had one full-time slot, that there's a possibility I can get 2 individuals in, whereas if it were a full-time slot, there would only be 1. Also, depending on the flexibility and thinking out of the box, I may even be able to get in 3 individuals in different content areas. But the way we're looking at it right now, yes, is to start with our core through the morning, and then, schedule permitting, being able to get the staff in, starting with the specials in the afternoon and rotating through the different special areas with different individuals on different days of the week. And that would allow my teachers to have the core grade level planning time.
If you have 252 students going to their elective at the same time, class size is 18, that means there needs to be 14.
I realize that, again, I've done scheduling for over 1,000 students before. So that means we had to give you something on paper. I did not want to get in too much of specifics. I do know that, yes, this will have to be adjusted depending on the number of staff. And my goal is that, yes, to me, an ideal setting would be that my students do core, because I personally believe that if they can do the core content material the earlier in the morning while they're fresh, that they will be able to comprehend better than the longer I go in the day. But at the same time, I live in the real world, and I realize that depending on the staff that we have, who we can get, how I can flex that schedule with half-time, third-time people, that some of them may have to do core, and then come my core courses, and then my specials, and then go back to core. That will be worked out, the details of the actual scheduling with the actual number of enrollments of kids that we get, which we anticipate getting what we projected, as well as the staff.
But I mean, I understand. Believe me, we're all folks that live in the daily charter world. So we know that. Sorry.
That was eerie.
That's a sign from somewhere else. Excuse me.
That's what she's asking.
We understand the hardships with scheduling, but according to the budget, you have 14 core teachers and 3 elective teachers. And I'm just saying that if everybody's doing a common elective time, then that's just not.
Yeah, and that's not, it's not gonna work exactly like this. The goal here with the way we put the budget is to have as much of the core instruction at the beginning of the day as possible, but say 3, I'm looking at possibly 6 part-time teachers. Okay, then that gives me some flexibility. Yes, there will be students that will go to my core classes and some electives or my specials, and then go back to core, because realistically, that's the only way we can make it work.
I mean, and I get that you write the application, you're not going to put everything down, but these pieces are really important. I mean, and y'all are asking for acceleration. Like, I run an existing school. I've already figured out. I spent the first 6 months kind of mulling over a whole bunch of different ways to structure my 5th through 8th grades, because I knew that I was going to have an issue with based on the growth trajectory, how many sections I had. I mean, people that are in existing schools are thinking about this stuff in real time. So I think you're saying, hey, we're ready to open August. This has got to be more locked down. Maybe not, but just 6 part-time people becomes that's, I mean, those people are hard to get. They're hard to keep. They're hard to rely on. And I'm not saying that's the most important thing in the application. I'm just saying it's like you're already on a compressed timeline if you're asking for an acceleration.
Right.
And these pieces are, they are important because they start to, what I'm trying to figure out is, okay, are we doing core instruction past 1 p.m.?
Yes, if depending on who we can hire, and I do think that we can find the individuals that were needed. We have a strong base of retired teachers
So,
who currently.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Does that mean that teachers are free from 1 to 2:20?
No, that would be some of the flexibility of in and out with core electives or specials back into the classroom. Okay, and as far as the specifics, I've actually put together a schedule and put together created schedules, and I have made this work with my experience at a school of over 1,000 students. And I realize you have to think out of the box, you have to be creative, but I'm confident that we can make this work.
Sometimes
But
it's harder
again,
with a small school to make it work.
Pardon me?
Sometimes it's even harder with a small school to make it work because you have
Right.
so few people.
Yeah, but understanding that we do know that we may not be able to get all straight core or all straight, what I call my core curriculum, and then.
So you're saying you
we
might
may-
have to have electives in the morning?
Yes, that's not my goal, that's not what I prefer, but yes, that's a strong possibility.
Okay, you mentioned, I have 2 more questions related to the ed plan, and I don't want to monopolize this conversation. I just have lots of questions, but feel free. Anyone else jump in here?
I have questions regarding the budget.
Okay, we'll get to the budget in a sec. All right, so this is tied to the budget. You talked about Scoop Pad, and in your budget for instructional technology, I think it's listed at $6,000. I did a quick price estimate based on what Scoop Pad said, $8 per student times, that's right there. It's going to be more than your entire budget.
On Discovery Ed, you have
And
to pay
Discover
for it, too.
Ed
It's not
is
free
up
either.
the yang. That is very expensive. And so I'm kind of like, this is those things are concerning to me because I'm like, how are we going to pay for the stuff that we're saying is, I'm looking for another, so that's my first question. Second question is, what are the non-instruction curricular components that you have decided on? Do they have a name? Do you know what they are? So, non-technology curricular components. Like, what are those things? Like, what's your reading program? I know it's not Scoop Pad. You said they're on screens 30% of the time. That's supplemental. So what's the core?
Okay.
So those 2 questions.
We have not selected, as far as a product name that's out there for purchase, we have not selected that. 1, we don't have our charter. 2, we will be looking at what's there as it compares to, the North Carolina Standard Course of Study and what it states that we have to teach. But because we're not at the point of actually knowing that we have a charter, we've not narrowed down a particular reading program.
Okay.
And as far as the budget is concerned, I'll let our budget folks address that question.
What we did was, with Discovery Ed and Scoop Pad, we both have quotes from both of those companies based off of our student population. And with the quotes that they presented, we were within the budget, what you see here for both of those. So this was not a thrown. We use Scoop Pad now in the after-school component. So we are one of their clients, and we were one of their startup clients. So I don't know, if there's any favoritism on it, but we do have quotes from both companies, Discovery Ed and Scoop Pad.
Yeah. Okay. It looked like they were saying $8 a student before. And then the question, so you haven't decided about the reading or the math curriculum. We don't know what it's, okay.
What about the stream? Has that been determined?
Could you share? Say that again.
Stream, have you determined what curriculum you're going to use for your stream?
That's teaching across the board, right? So Pittsco has a stream curriculum, but more than Pittsco pulling Pittsco's equipment, what we're trying to do, and the goal is to teach stream science, technology, it's across the board teaching across the curriculum is the major goal for the STREAM program. And so it's not a pull-out program like a STEM program, but it is a teacher-led component through their regular teaching day, and Ms. Farrell could articulate a little bit better probably than I could on that.
A partnership with Pittsco?
That is correct.
That is very expensive.
As I said, we're not using their equipment and those things for Pittsco, but some of their components, which is not under their license, we can pull from.
I'd like to ask a question about professional development. How many days and what do you think that that's going to consist of? And how will you integrate the language immersion in that with the STEM, with everything else that you're doing?
Yeah, we have 10 days of professional development built into our calendar before the first day of school. Okay. We have a partnership with Dream Builders out of Charlotte. And they come and they provide, or they will provide, professional development in all areas. Once they arrive, they will stay with us. They will have someone to stay with us, not just to come and deliver the professional development, but to come and evaluate as we go along what our weak areas are, and someone who's constantly in and out of the program. Okay? And they will also have professionals that can cover the different areas that we're looking at as far as having within our school.
How much is that Dream
Builders?
Dream Builders. Do you know? Have you got a quote from them on that?
$5,000 a year, ma'am.
Okay, $5,000.
And they're qualified to cover all of these areas?
That's correct. Kenseth Griffin, he does a lot across the state. He just finished up, I know, a thing in Pitt County. But yes, he's known. I mean, his company does. I won't say he's known, but his company does that kind of work out of Charlotte, Dream Builders.
What do they actually do? I mean, you said professional. Like, I don't understand. What would they be training you on?
Classroom management. I'm not the educator, but I know one of the major pieces of our school is we want to make sure that teachers are able to manage the students to help to bring down discipline issues. So that's one of the major focuses I had with them. Curriculum delivery. Cultural diversity are the things. So basically from day one of the pieces of our startup is because we are a different school that has a suspension policy, no suspension policy, we want to make sure our educators understand that and how do you de-escalate. And so that was one of the major focuses when we talked initially with Dream Builders for professional development. Those areas, curriculum, professional development will come based off of the curriculum needs of the educator, and I think of a survey that they're going to be doing with the staff to find out their exact needs. So.
And in addition to that, we have a half a day planned for, it's not every month, the goal is every month, but at the end of each quarter and on some other odd months, a half a day of staff development for early student dismissal. And during that time, we will also be working on our curriculum as far as using our experienced teachers, the collaboration, working together, experience, inexperience, sharing technology, skills that have worked, that are being tried within the curriculum, and just doing lots of collaboration as far as it relates to the curriculum as we go through the school year.
The beginning of the year, PD, should that not also include STREAM and dual language immersion?
Most definitely.
So this Dream Builders are capable of technology integration, all of that you just mentioned?
Yes.
Yes. Plus
They
with
can
the
do dual language and STREAM? They can train dual language and STREAM? Dual language and STREAM integration?
Yes, he has a Hispanic educator on his staff that can come and work with us, as well as using the expertise of the individuals that we will have on staff. Okay? But that would be our main resource.
Omar, who is on our board, we have a large Hispanic council, El Refugio, who we are partners with, that they do language teaching now. They're teaching the Hispanics speakers English, but they're also very interested in working with us to help get our English students to speak Spanish. So it's not that we're relying all on Dream Builders. I don't want you to. We have partnerships local with El Refugio, who Mr. Omar, who is one of their steering board members, can speak more of. So it's not a one-sided thing. There is local partnerships that are very interesting.
I'm looking at it from, I'm a teacher, I'm gonna work for you, and 10 days before school starts, you're telling me how I'm going to integrate Spanish into my classroom, which I love the idea. I don't speak Spanish.
If I could add to that, one of the advantages we have on that, we came with the support of North Carolina Society of Hispanic Professionals. I'm a close friend to the executive director. They just developed a STEM program fully in Spanish, and it's available for use. They have staff available for training as well as coming in and doing assistant in the classroom. As Dr. William mentioned, El Refugio has been around for 5 years. Over the last 3 years, they have offered classes not to just English learners, but to English speakers. They offer Spanish classes that being to any citizen in the community and teachers as well. There are several teachers in the county that attend those classes. They're partnered up with the community college, Central Carolina Community College. They assist them with those classes. So we have that. We also have the Hispanic Liaison in Chatham County that I'm part of a board member to start up the initiative for Lee County. We're also working on that. They have offer staff and training as well when it comes to that. So, you know, we're really lucky when it comes to having staff and teachers. SLIDE, I'm not sure if you're familiar with SLIDE, Scholar Latino Initiative out of UNC Chapel Hill. I was a member when I was in high school, which I was lucky that my mentor is now the executive director. He has pretty much every single connection in the Hispanic seniorities throughout the colleges of North Carolina. So that is there available for us to pull in teachers. We have several interests from them as soon as they're done of willing to come to us and teach. So that's one of the advantages we have when it comes to trying to reach the Hispanic community and doing the dual language part. There are several teachers and his staff that are already working within those classrooms. Also, the director of ESL of Cumberland County has implemented this dual language. That is also one of my teachers when I was in school. I'm an ESL student. I came to the United States when I was 11 years old. So I can really tell you the appreciation I have when somebody focuses on that. I didn't learn English just by somebody teaching English and telling me, here, learn this. It was by being in the classroom with regular students, not by being in a separate ESL class. That doesn't help you much because with every kid that you're sitting around, all of them speak Spanish. You need somebody that's going to push you to that. So,
well, but I totally understand that. But you're telling me I'm a teacher and I'm going to be teaching this to my children while I'm learning it from you? That's scary to me.
No, you're not going to only be. It's not only going to be up to you. There's going to be support in that classroom. For the first
because
months,
the budget doesn't support that.
No, because the North Carolina Society of Hispanic Professionals, they're not charging us for that support. This is a grant that they have that they're willing to put in use because they developed the STEM program and it's just sitting on their website. They have all this information because they really don't have somebody out there. If it wasn't because I'm connected to Carolina, I wouldn't have known the STEM program being available. It's because of her approaching me. El Refugio has an annual festival that all these resources come together. So they're sitting there with this grant money that they need to push out in the classroom. So they have trained people in their staff that are willing to come in and that are going to be coming in to assist our teachers. So you're not just going to come in and start teaching, hey, let's everybody learn Spanish. They have tools and assistance with their grant to be able to assist you in your classroom.
Sure. That is put out in here.
I just found out of this in October. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
I do have a significant
Yeah, we want to talk
question.
about budget and then budget, transportation, operations, and wrap this up. Let's see if we can wrap up the questioning in 7 minutes.
My question centers around really the revenues, and I mean, I look and you show a surplus from a little bit of a surplus in year 1 and significant in year 5. However, when I look at the revenues, your students are going from 250 to approximately 540. But your revenues are more than doubling, like $1 million extra in year 5. So I think your revenues are very overstated. that I'm not sure that it's realistic. And if you take it back to where it should be realistic, you're running a very close break even on your budget. If that does that make sense, what I said? I mean, I use a lot of numbers, but if you're just doubling your students, your revenues shouldn't go from 1.9 million to almost 5 million. So it's like an 18% increase in your per student amount. So I'm just very concerned about that, and then given 5 to 7% of your student population is coming from the local LEA, to be able to meet those student numbers and your revenues.
So if I'm looking, and I think I'm looking at it, and Mr. Billy also can come and speak to this, but if I'm understanding you correctly, you're looking underneath the total budget revenue projection year 1 through year 5?
Correct.
Okay. And so basically those numbers, when we put them into the system for state ADM and local per pupil funding, is generated from the numbers that we put into the automated, your system. Those numbers are not self-generated. Those are based off of numbers that are put into your calculation system. Which one?
I see what you're saying, Lynn, because you're saying year 1 is 252, so logically, if you double that, that should be, and that budget's 2 million. You double that, year 5 should be 4 million.
Correct.
It's showing 4.9 million.
And $1 million off is very significant when you're projecting out.
So where is the? Page 74 of the chart.
Yeah, year 4 to 5. Is there a big jump in year 4 to 5 in students?
There's a big jump. Actually, it's a 5% jump from year 1 to year 2, and then it's a 10% jump from year 2 to 3, 15% from year 3 to 4, and then it's about almost 20% jump from year 4 to 5. So something's out of whack.
What's your break-even number to start?
216, sir.
And you're projecting 252?
Correct, sir.
So you can run the budget on 216?
For year 1, yes, sir.
Yeah. What happens if you're below that number? What would be your first positions to cut?
It won't be the principal, but no. It'd be some of our teacher assistants will be first. We'd go from there. So we probably would not loop maybe our 3rd grade class. So it would be teacher assistants starting, and then from there we look at curriculum, not curriculum per se, but items that we're using with curriculum.
When I look at the budgets, I always figure the first year's budget is the most important because everybody knows budget changes after year 1 anyway. So, I mean, I think year 2, and it's instructive, but I mean, I think there's some issue there to look at.
I do have some questions on the budget. I'm actually on page 78 of the application. Just piggybacking on the comments you just made, you're showing a net at the end of the year, first year, I think 35,000 left over. So correct. I'm just doing some mental math here and back of the envelope math. So your lease of technology equipment is at 20,000. So I'm going to assume that's sort of laptops, desktops for the teachers and all of that. You may not be a one-to-one school, but that's only $79 per student for all that equipment. And then and Mr. Quigley mentioned earlier about as a blended model, you're going to need digital content. You're still going to need the core of whether hard copy materials. When I add up all the instructional technology, instructional materials, and curriculum and text, and put all that together, I mean, you're providing all of that for $69 a student.
Well, when you look at the budget line, it's $20,000 a year, right? Obviously, you won't be able to buy brand new equipment with that money. Well, luckily, that's not the only option. You have leasing and you have refurbished equipment. I run the budget for a really for $10,000 for a school year of, middle school. And I'm able to make it through that with the connections with the company. Trinity Technology out of Michigan and Blue Compass here are two of the companies that offer refurbished equipment. You're able to get a laptop with 6 years warranty for $200. So yeah, if you're looking at that number, you won't be able to buy brand new devices. But the Chromebooks have also been a big change in education when it comes to technology. Google has now offered where you don't longer have to be buying additional chargers because all the Chromebooks that have come out from last year have the same charging port. So the technology piece, yeah, if you're trying to buy brand new equipment, you won't do it, but leasing is definitely possible.
Okay, I just bring the point forward, just, it struck me as, and I too have experience in that area. You're at $69 per student for technology, $79 for all of the curricular materials, whether they be hard copy or online. And even I'd say the furniture, you're at about $90 per student. That doesn't even include equipping the office or any of the other parts of the school. I bring that out I'm not saying it can't be done, it raised the flag for me that could immediately eat into that $35,000 net that you have at the end. But I appreciate the fact that you've looked into that and all the different leasing options and all that. And as Mr. Quigley said, that digital content is not inexpensive as well. So.
All right. I will bring to the fact that we have been in discussion with a couple of sponsors that are looking to pour into the finances, which is additional to it. Some of the companies that we've talked to have been Lowe's, Verizon, and Microsoft, who are willing to partner with us in the educational part of it as far as technology, different aspects of it. Lowe's in particular has looked into providing us a grant of anywhere from $50,000 to $150,000. They're just looking for just the final charter to make sure that we're good to go, because they're not going to go on speculation of if we have it. They want to know that we do have it. Same thing with Verizon. Verizon also provides everything from your technology to your voice over IP, and they're looking to do the same thing. I've actually met with them within the past 2 weeks, and their firm, they've seen the same application that you all have in front of you, and they're definitely looking forward to moving forward, which that will give us additional working capital that we will potentially need.
I'm going to have to echo, I didn't even look at this until Mr. Friend said, because instructional materials, curriculum text, and copy paper, that's $15,000. There's just no way. 250 kids. It's not gonna happen. There's not enough money in that line. And I know that you can adjust those lines, but I'm just wondering,
there's no surplus the first year.
Yeah, take all your 35,000 and put it there, because copies, computers, repairs, copy paper alone. I don't know. I'm concerned about those numbers.
And Mr.
They're
Chair,
super low.
one thing that we tried to do, we may not hit it out of the park, but based off of the information you gave us last year, and if you could remember, we had a gigantic surplus in our last year's budget. And this year we came back and tried to make sure we narrowed it down and got as close to what we believe could help us get through this year. So we tried to really take your advice and bring it back, and knowing that we have a few dollars, not a whole lot to play with, but a few dollars to play with to be able to adjust in areas that we may have fallen short on budget purposes, we do acknowledge that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Should you move forward, I think this is going to require you're going to have to look very carefully at this and figure out where you need to.
Yeah, and that's my biggest concern, has to do with the budget. I had some issues in governance, but it's stuff that can be easily fixed, and a budget can be fixed too. But the problem is if you miss enrollment by 15 students, then you're going to have to do a lot of shifting around where, losing 15 students probably doesn't mean that you have one less classroom. So you still, but you've got hit with enough money that it eats up all your surplus. And I think that's where my biggest concern is. It's kind of you got to be, if you have too much surplus, it's like, why aren't you spending the money to educate the kids? But if you've got too little, it's like, how are you going to make it? And so you may have swung just a little bit too far this way this year. Not that you can't. Budgets are malleable. You can change them and get them right. But I think that was something that if you do move forward, you'd really have to work on in the ready to open process.
All right, so I'm going to try to bring us in for discussion. I'll start by saying that I really like this group of men to Ready to Open presented there, talked with them. I feel like the level of commitment is there. You know, you can tell they want to do this. I do not feel in any way, shape, or form that it's ready for acceleration. And honestly, I'm still. I would say I'm on the fence about whether or not they're ready to enter the regular process even. My big chief concerns. I mean, we talked a little bit about the budget. I think that's easier in some ways to fix than what I see as still. The application is better than last time, but I still feel like I see a lack of clarity in the kind of. I feel like they have a heart for the community that they're serving, and that is very clear. That comes through, but then like the clarity around what the program is going to look like and how it's going to be run, there's a lot of question marks. I feel. It's not. It's okay not to say, hey, I've picked this one curriculum. There's not one curriculum we're looking for people to pick, although I want people to not pick bad curriculum. But just even saying we're going to do, our model's going to be a literacy model that's going to include phonics, independent or reader's workshop, writer's workshop. It's going to be 120 minutes per day, and then we're going to have 90 minutes, whatever it is. Just be able to like really nail that and give us that clear picture of what pieces are going to look like. I feel like we're close, but it just feels a little bit not quite there. But I also, I know I do appreciate their commitment to the community and they've been at all of those RTOs, and the application has come a long way from last time. So that's where I'm at.
So we've got to decide acceleration first.
Yes.
Okay.
Or, I mean, it doesn't matter the order. We just have to divide those two things.
Make a motion that they not be accelerated, because I just don't think they're ready for acceleration.
Second.
Yeah.
Okay, it's been properly moved and second. Any discussion on the motion?
I didn't hear the motion. I'm sorry.
The motion was to not accelerate this application.
Thank you.
I mean, I want to go through the first four things. You have to show clear and compelling need for the accelerated planning year, which to me is not a whole lot different than demonstrating exceptional need for the charter school in the proposed location. There's no elementary school charter schools in Lee County, if what they've said is right. Is that right? No.
I think Ascend is eventually going to be an elementary.
But Ascend right now is 6 and 7, right?
Correct.
Ascend is going to go toward high school.
High school?
Okay.
6-12.
Yeah, so there's not that. Their participation's been, my understanding is that a lot of them have been there for the things. And then, the facility, sounds like the facility's a great location. I don't know how easy, I don't know how easy it is really to go that quickly from an open air flea market to a school that gets a certificate of occupancy for education that quickly. That's kind of where I'm sitting on it. I think it's going to be tough to accelerate, and especially when you're talking about getting such a high percentage of the LEA's students that probably the factors weigh against acceleration.
They also say that the LEA is getting ready to open a new elementary school too. So those two things would happen at the same time.
It's competitive.
So 7% ambitious.
May I ask a question? I don't know if I got it out of the application or the board, or when the board was talking, is there any members of this board that actually have experience in opening a school? Be it, I know we have some past educators and stuff, but actually opening a charter, public or private school from the ground up?
We don't, as a board, no, but that's why we partnered with Leaders for Leaders to help bring some of that experience to help us.
Leaders building leaders, right?
That's correct,
Dr.
sir.
Miller, yeah. Okay, so it's been properly moved in second. Any further discussion on the accelerated component? Okay, all in favor of not moving them forward to acceleration?
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries. So now we have to discuss whether or not we move them forward on the regular timeline. I've already shared my thoughts.
Well, I'm in the same boat with you, Alex. When I reviewed the plan, I failed them on mission and ed plan. One, the mission, I mean, I understand the explanation that was given for the mission, but it doesn't speak to the specific things that they then in the ed plan say are going to be integral to their school. With that being said, the ed plan is not clearly laid out as to how these components are going to fit in. I think it would be great to have this school in Lee County. I really feel like these
It's a good board.
individuals are
It's a good board.
compassionate for the school, but those are two major components that had major weaknesses, in my opinion. So I'm torn.
I have issues with anybody, any of the groups that come and can clearly articulate their ed plan for school. So that's like the most important thing we do. And if you can't clearly articulate what that's gonna look like, then you're gonna fall into this. You may pull it together eventually, but it's not gonna be ready to go.
Other thoughts? Lyndon?
I thought
Stephen?
that, I thought the education plan could have been a little more clear. I didn't think it was bad. I passed the education plan. I had more concerns with the budget, but the budget's
I
not
felt
so
that
bad.
section too.
I don't think the budget's so bad that it couldn't be fixed. And, you know, I think their passion has a lot to go with it. And the people that they brought in, I think, to me, that's a strength of a board when they can say, okay, our weak point is here, so we'll bring in somebody else. And, you know, and there's a lot to say, well, we get the builder here, you know, we'll do this. And I think that really speaks to the passion there. And I think that they'll make it work. And I think they can make it work. You know, I think they'll have a rough first year, maybe a rough second year, but I think they can get it done. And that would be my thought, is that they could do it. And with Lee County not having any school of choice for elementary school, and somebody that is showing this kind of passion to want to do it, I'm inclined to let them take a shot at it.
And I'm feeling that way too. I wish the education plan, you could, especially literacy, tell me exactly how you're going to do literacy, because that's what we're falling short on. And well, math, but reading is my big thing right now. So I'm concerned about that. But I, like Stephen, like your passion. I think you will go find schools that are exceeding and learn from them. I would encourage you, and I can say this because Sugar Creek Charter School in Charlotte, you need to go see that. See the literacy program that's there. Heritage Collegiate, Henderson Collegiate. Henderson Collegiate. Go look at some of these schools that are really doing a good job with literacy and with math, because your education plan is weak as far as articulating. But it's the only charter school for elementary kids in Lee County, and there's a need. I hope you can get your numbers. There's a concern there in the smaller county.
Just seems to me we've got a good board here, and we've got enthusiasm and volunteerism in the Hispanic community in Lee County. This could be a boon to this school. I would like to see us give them an opportunity. I'm not looking for us to become their amigos para siempre, but I'd like to see us give them an opportunity.
No habla español.
Yeah, because I didn't go to this school, I don't know what you just said.
Did you just curse us out?
No, friends forever.
Friends forever.
Friends forever.
Okay, well.
I am concerned with the budget numbers. Again, when you have your, trying to reach the number of students and trying to meet the budget, when you put those two together, I just don't think that's a tough thing to meet. If you're confident with your student numbers, then you can make the budget work, but when you have both variables, I just, that doesn't make me feel
Well,
comfortable.
they will find out real quick.
Well, but then, like, so when is the new elementary school opening? In 19?
Yeah, 1920 school year.
I guess it depends on how many.
What?
Was there an LEA impact statement for Lee County?
No.
Interesting.
It's gonna be 2 years.
Yes.
Can you
Yeah,
say
you
something?
can.
Help us with that.
If I may, Lee County is in the need to open up two, and I articulated that in the plan. Lee County is in need to open up 2 elementary schools. By us opening up an elementary school in Lee County, one, it will relieve the tax burden on the Lee County residents. But even the one that they're opening, their schools will still be overcrowded, and they're going to have to turn around and open up another elementary school, and they can't open up one as low as we can. So, I mean, the need is there. Lee County schools, every elementary school in Lee County is overcrowded.
And while you're up there, where in relation to you is Anderson Creek? 'Cause I know that's Harnett County, but
That's not even close.
Yeah, it's a ways.
It's also
right,
in a
we've got-
subdivision.
Yeah,
County.
and Anderson Creek, is in a subdivision. It's different than every other.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, to just move things along, I move that we recommend to the state board that MENA charter be placed into the ready to open status.
I'd like to second that.
All right. Any discussion on the motion?
We're putting a lot of confidence in the board.
And you can see the enthusiasm there and the community support. And they're savvy enough to make these adjustments with their finances, I think.
All right. All in favor of moving MENA forward on a regular timeline? Opposed? All right. Motion carries. 6-3. 6-3.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Hopefully the state board will agree.
Thank you, sir.
Now, make us proud.
We
We shall.
have no approved accelerations.
They are committed. I will say that.
Are we ready to get started?
Focus on other things.
Yeah, we'll take a, let's do 4 minutes, 2:15.
Got back here just in time for the break. Oh my gosh.
Okay, I figured
They're the only ones.
The only one in Washington.
Only ones.
That's got a little mirror.
It's right on 64.
What, where is Newburgh?
Yeah, especially today.
Spanish and Spanish.
My geography on that side.
5110,
I have to allay Sherry's concerns.
State right here.
With the Sherry, Lynn, and Cheryl. Any issues?
What does NINA stand for? NINA stand for?
No,
Amigos para siempre.
Oh, more is now achievable.
it's near Terrell.
All right.
There you go.
We got to drive through it to get to Dare County.
More is now achievable.
Low Fertig.
That is just about the only bit of Spanish I know,
Yeah.
along with Via con Dios. I
Yeah.
heard John Wayne
Yeah,
say
we've
that.
heard that, yes. No, the only thing comes to me is my German. Nine,
Ich spreche keine Deutsch. Nein, ich spreche ein bisschen Deutsch. A little,
Oh, you
a
do?
little German.
Oh, okay.
My daughter, when I went to Ireland, I went to Allison.
Yes.
And we're in West Germany.
I we visited there, yeah.
And we walked across the river, the Rhine. We went to an Italian restaurant, and I'm trying to order Italian food in German. And my daughter says to my son-in-law, "Spricht Deutsch wie ein Kind." Speaks German like a child, doesn't he? And I'm saying, Allison, I know what you're saying. Just because she and Tony are fluent.
Okay. Did you text her right back? She said she's already doing it.
You know, my last German.
I like this. I think this is pretty good.
And it's not like becoming fluent if you learn German in a high school.
It's nothing.
Rudiments.
I was gonna say, you don't learn that.
And Allison's.
And it's just like,
yeah, in Germany.
and, somebody like, we have all of our cliches or words we say. We're not able to translate into different.
There are a lot of German words that they have negative connotations. One word for smell is stinken. Stinken. But in English,
It's not very big.
It is not
It's
big.
one of those
Trying to
couple of
find
thousand,
out.
right?
Yeah.
smell.
Let me see how I can, let me go to the principal.
You know, a lot of the words are very, very similar. Hand, Mund, Nase.
So you learned a lot.
But it's, you know,
I didn't try to learn
high school
any
German.
German while I was over there. I could get by without it. I learned a few words.
I like how you stay on it there, Alex.
Trying that one.
And I love it.
That would drive, is that the warning?
We just. All right, we ready? Let's go.
I really want to get somebody.
I said 2:15. People are late.
Go to the devil. In English, it's turned into go to hell. It used to be in Old English, it was go to the devil. But in Spain, that was
10 minutes behind, but I think we're gonna make it up on our.
Raleigh.
Yeah. I think we can still be done by 4.
So I'm gonna go ahead and start.
Yep.
The applicant group appearing before the board today is Pocosin Innovative Charter. This interview will be led by Chair Alex Quigley. They're proposing to locate in Washington County. Their proposed grade levels and projected student enrollment are as follows. Year 1, K through 8, 250 students. Year 2, K through 8, 325 students. Year 3, K through 8, 422 students. Year 4, K through 8, 450 students. Year 5, K through 8, 508 students. We do have an LEA impact statement submitted for this application. We do not have due diligence completed. The pass-fail ratings are as follows. Mission, purposes, and goals, 4 pass, 1 fail. Education plan, all pass. Governance and capacity, all pass. operations, all pass, finance, all pass. This applicant is requesting an accelerated open. They are not a repeat applicant, and they did receive third-party assistance from Alliance Education Services. This applicant has had representation at every Ready to Open planning year session held thus far.
So we
Hello,
could just have
everyone.
each board member introduce themselves real quick.
Each board member?
Yep.
Okay. I'm Stephanie Phelps, Board Chair of Pocosin Innovative Charter, self-employed.
Hello, I'm Laura Biggs.
I'm Victoria Harrison.
I'm Ray Blunt, Town Mayor of Crestwell.
I'm Lynn West, former teacher and CTE, AIG, and testing coordinator, past vice chair of the Washington County Board of Education, and past member of the board for the Northeast Regional School of Biotechnology and Agri-Science.
Constance Davenport, Vice Chair.
Gabrielle Davenport.
Okay, great.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
Is this the board with 2 massage therapists on it?
Yes.
Okay.
He wants to join.
Yes, it is.
Do you need another board member?
Okay, all right. Let's keep it above board here. All right. Great. So first we want to talk about acceleration. Could you give us just very briefly kind of your rationale for seeking accelerated open?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we come before you with what we believe is a clear and compelling need for acceleration for the Pocosin Innovative Charter. We are from the Northeast region of North Carolina, and I have before me a list of 19 schools in the Northeast region. Of those 19 schools, there are only 3 B schools, 8 C schools, and 8 D schools. All of the schools, and I repeat, all of the schools in Washington County are D-rated schools. We have no school of choice options for our students. When we look for educational resources and we were scraping the bottom of the barrel, we had to look in another barrel, that being a charter school. So we feel like for our students, the low-performing schools in our area indicate the great, compelling need for our proposed charter school.
Could we have are you the mayor of Crestwell?
Yes, sir.
Or could you talk to us a little bit about this community and why you would be in support of a charter school?
Well, I'm supportive of the charter school because, I mean, we are a very small community, but we have a great need for this school, and a lot of the citizens of the town of Crestwell and the community of Crestwell would love to see a charter school in our community. It would advance our community. Probably even jobs would come to our community. So I definitely support the job that we are trying to do in Crestwell, and this will be my 4th year. And so I'm gonna do all that I can to help them try to get this charter school to come to Crestwell. I mean, it's a great need to see a charter school come into our community.
Is there a school closing in Crestwell?
The high school has closed in Crestwell, and the middle school, and they had the kids had to be bused to other schools, and some of the parents had their kids released to go to other schools, but they're not happy with the situation, but they're making the best of a bad situation, as I can see.
How many people on the board actually live in Crestwell?
Okay.
That's like half the town. I mean, I know Crestwell is very small. I think, like 250, something like that? I mean, it's...
We live in the county, yeah, but we do.
Right.
Address, yeah.
And now I know Beargrass isn't close, but it's close is relative when you're out in the country like that. I understand that because
It's not close.
You know, it's not close. But have y'all talked to anybody from there about how you work with a very rural charter school like this?
Yes, sir. When we began this initial process of of talking about a charter, our first step was visiting Beargrass, and we toured it. We spoke with the principal. We spoke with other resources that helped pull information. We toured the school. They are a 6. They're 6 through 12. So our need is K-8, especially elementary age. There is no elementary charter school in our area.
Did y'all find any of the ideas that they had? Did y'all incorporate that into your plans? I guess because they've been successful.
Right.
They've been successful, and I think of all the schools, rural school would be one of the most difficult to do, just because there's not as many students out there. Transportation is an issue, but people there are used to driving. I mean, how long does it take to get to Walmart from Creswell?
Hour.
Wow.
See, people used
terrible.
Yes.
People are used to driving.
Local closest McDonald's is 30 minutes away.
Well, I'm close to
From-
Dollar General.
About 15.
20 minutes.
They're always around.
Yeah, 20 minutes to but we have incorporated some of the ideas from them, but they are more middle school and high school than what we're looking. We've actually contacted other rural charter schools that have been successful, and in terms of getting their enrollment and some of their other ideas, we're incorporating into ours.
Because I mean, it's all just going to be about enrollment.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Since our initial meeting, we have actually held another community meeting, as well as a pre-application, as you will, for those who are actually going to be attending our school. We have already exceeded our baseline number, break-even point, according to budget and that kind of thing. We average somewhere between 30 to 40 people at our community meetings. That's where our town meetings only have 15 participants at our meetings. Our school meetings already average 40. You also have to understand that our community is very reluctant of putting anything on paper until something is actually there. So we know that our projected number is actually going to grow even more so once we have that final approval from you.
Have you identified the principal?
We have not. We have not identified any staffing or anything because we're not able to sufficiently acquire any of that until
Sometimes
we get
people
that.
have the principal as on the board.
We have pre-identified some people that are actually interested in that, but nothing formally has been done.
Okay. I want to get into the application, but I do think that, unlike the other ones, this is one where I'm like, okay. I think it's still a serious mountain to climb, but you have a school that's would be the only one in the county. First charter school in the county. You have obviously there's not high school students, but they recently have closed the school in that community. This seems like more along the lines of clear and
They closed the
compelling.
middle school, and they're going to do middle school as well.
It's very much more along the lines of clear and compelling and unique. Something that I feel like I could argue in front of the state board, quite honestly.
We were initially told at our application process that our local elementary school was going to be closing as well. We do not know what the final determination of that is, but we do know that there are many of those people who are still there, are seeking something extra, and are going to be attending our school.
What did the LEA statement say?
Yeah, is there a statement of impact from the LA? Okay.
Do you see yourself as having a non-adversarial relationship with your LEA?
We will partner with them because we want them to be as successful as we are, and we know that in order for all of us to coexist, we have to work with them, even locally as well as our surrounding, because we're going to be pulling kids away from the other surrounding communities as well, not just our local.
It's on the where's the impact statement?
Under Pocosin. I'm going to email it to the board.
Okay.
What you think you can get the school staffed in time to start in August?
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's talk about how you're going to do that.
Hey, yes, sir. Once we can initially begin the hiring process, we have had many teachers in the local LEA and neighboring LEAs contact and reach out to us to find out more who are interested in applying for our school, and we're like, hold on, we're not there yet, but please, you know, stay in contact with us. Yes, we have plans to hire the correct principal and the correct people to help with staffing and training and PD, because it is project-based learning, is agriculturally based. We have all the people in place, I think, to reach out to train teachers.
Okay.
That's the other thing that's really cool about this app, is the training that's incorporated that reflects what's available to do, the kind of work that people do in their community. And it's stuff that you don't find in other schools, which makes it seriously unique.
Well, I wish it had been in the mission statement.
Well, excuse me.
That's what I felt.
We took your suggestion because our mission statement was vague after we got your feedback, and that was the initial one. And then after we got deep into this process and really saw what we needed to do, we have changed it. So can I read that for you? Okay. So we've changed it is to provide a high quality education preparing today's students for tomorrow's world with a solid foundation to become respectful and productive citizens, focusing on regional, agricultural, and related industries.
Very good.
Please announce yourself.
Now, would that have to be an amendment? How would they do
That you can change it during Ready to Open.
Ready to open? Okay. That's much better.
Thank you.
That was one of my hangups. I wish I could see the LEA statement, because I don't want this to be the knife in the elementary school's back.
I sent it out.
You just got it.
It's in your email.
She just emailed it to us.
I've got it.
Oh, it's in an email thread with the location of Wilmington School.
It's with
There
Wilmington?
you go.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, so I want to talk about can we keep moving here?
Sir, may I address her comment?
Sure.
Washington County is and has for many, many years been very low performing, if not 115 out of 115, very close to it. I do not feel that we would be a knife in their back, as there are many, many students in the county that are homeschooled and go to private schools. And it is our intent to pull from these two pools. But people in our county are looking for options to educate their children.
Okay, but it does say in the letter that
Yeah.
they are not closing the elementary school, and it is not overcrowded, and they're gonna have one teacher per grade level. So
When
all those kids only take grade.
What's
can
the school
speak to that.
performance grade of that elementary school?
D.
D.
Yeah. But when we submitted our application in August, they had communicated to the community that they were closing the elementary after this 18-19 school year. Once we submitted our application, now they're changing what they're saying.
We know how that goes.
But we can't really trust what they say, because it's been just back and forth for so long.
They make their decisions upon whatever you're deciding.
Yes, ma'am.
Plus, they say we'll be able to address the community's needs with time. How much time?
Yeah.
Like, they've had time.
How many years?
Years and years and years.
I mean,
That,
I'm sure people have questions, but I really like the application. I really like the passion. If there was a school that was a no-brainer for acceleration, this is the one. There's not one in the county. The need is there. The schools there. We're talking about schools closing. They've got I think a lot of us we get hung up on how far some of these students would have to travel, but that's for rural eastern North Carolina. That's just a way of life. You get used to going and driving. You make sure when you go by the gas station that you fill up, because there's not going to be one for a while. And that's just the way it is. I've spent a lot of time out in that part of the state and driving through that part of the state and meeting with people there. And I think if a school can pull off an acceleration and can have a quality school, I think it is this group.
What's the
What's the
facility plan?
transportation plan? And the
Facility
facility plan.
As far as the transportation goes, like he said, I mean, people are having to drive everywhere they go anyway. Right now, we're already having to take our kids to another LEA. We're driving them. We don't have a school bus that's providing that. We do have it in the budget to get school buses if necessary, which we would only have 2 to 3 because we're going to be doing bus depots when we can do that. We wouldn't be going door to door to pick up children. It would be 3 bus depots that we're pulling from all of our surrounding areas. We have already been in contact with a bus company and know a rate that we can get buses if that has to be done. But we do know that we can also purchase or lease used buses that are already maintenanced. But as far as the transportation right now, we are carpoolers. I mean, that's what our area does anyway. I mean, we have to drive 30 to 40 miles just to get to work. So.
Well, I have a little experience with a rural school. My school runs 13 buses across 4 counties, so don't discount the bus transportation because
oh, absolutely,
it is important. And you know, by the time you reach your 5th year with those numbers, which is approximately what size my school is now, as a K-12, you're probably going to have a good bus system on the road.
Right, absolutely. And we have it in the budget to be able to purchase buses if necessary. I don't think for the first couple of years that may not even be a need. Like we were talking about how the school is closing down, children are being bused from Air County to, I mean, Washington County. We have 3 different schools, but, the kids are being bused from Cresswell to Plymouth and Cresswell to Roper, and they're being on the road for 2 hours just to be bused there, and the parents don't like that. If they have an opportunity, and that's for the kids that can't be released from Washington County. They're not released. They may have went before the board and for some reason they were not released. My child was released. I can carry him to Terrell County, and that's what I'm doing, and that is what the majority of our town is doing right now. They're taking them to school, and that's what they've been doing even before this consolidation. They're either homeschooling them or taking them to a private school. So that's just what our area is used to. They know that they may have, we talked about it in our last community meeting, that they understand that for the first, couple years, we may have to do a carpool system, and they're okay with that because this means that they're going to get an education that they're not otherwise going to be offered.
What about facility? What's the facility plan?
We have a facility. It's an old elementary school. It was renovated to code in 2017, and it's ready. There's a small congregation. My father owns it. There's a small congregation church that meets there 2 hours every Sunday. There's 1 crucifix that we would have to put away. That's it. It's ready.
I think so. I have a couple questions about a couple things. One, I mean, what I just heard is like, we're talking about homeschool students and private school students, but there can't be that many of those students. I mean, the district's citing 150 homeschool and 71, 80 private school students, I think.
I have that data I pulled up when we were here at our last RTO when we came before you, and you wanted more data. So 16-17 Washington County had 151 homeschool. It's increased to 163 this year. I looked up the neighboring counties who are also steadily increasing homeschool students. The private schools, there's 2 in neighboring Beaufort County that a lot of people drive their kids to, and there's 300 K-8 in Beaufort County, private school students, and Bertie County is the next, Lawrence is the next private county. There's 258 K at that private school.
Well, but are those students within driving distance? of
Absolutely.
Creswell?
A lot of those
I guess-
students drive there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
From-
the question then, it begs the question of like, is you know, and this is more to my board than to their board. You know, is that what we're doing? You know, I don't think that we're not just creating a charter school for kids that are already in homeschool and in private school, and in their application they cite that they expect the school to be 100% low income. It actually says that. So I don't understand if people can afford to send their kids to private school and
There are
homeschool.
probably a lot of opportunity
If I
scholarships
can
in that area.
address that, many of our local children that are currently in private schools seek the Opportunity Scholarship in order to pay for those funds. So they're still seeking a revenue outside of their income because they can't afford that. The Opportunity Scholarship offers transportation as well as their tuition, and that's not coming out of that individual's.
Okay.
Excuse me, I wouldn't discount the school bus idea either. I know a person who lives out in
They have to have transport.
rural Rutherford County, and he's the headmaster of a very successful public charter school. And he told me he's got 12 school buses, and he sends 6 of them west and 6 of them east. And probably next to the iconic Greensboro Academy, he's got one of the most successful charter schools in the state.
Absolutely. A bus and transportation is definitely a plan based on the need once we get those children and enrolled and find out what they need in order to accompany
How much do you have in the budget for transportation?
Sorry.
How much do you have in the
Budget for
225,000? Yeah, I mean the county directly said that they don't have any more buses. I mean they responded to that part of due to the closure of local schools, Washington County has a surplus of school buses. They said we don't have any buses. I don't think you're gonna have luck there. I want to talk about the ed plan. I like the agricultural slant on things, and it's obviously it kind of to what some of my fellow board members shared about fitting some of the focus of the community. My bigger concern was around the choice of curriculum. Reading Street is really not, it's a weak curriculum, and I'm concerned because I think quick Google search of that, all you got to do is go on Ed Reports and it'll tell you that's one of the weaker curriculums out there. So I'm concerned about that.
Okay, I can speak to that. Honestly, I am currently a public high school family and consumer science public school teacher and career and development coordinator, and being in the classroom and having experience, it's going to come down to I want to see who we hire as our principal. I want someone and the teachers with expertise. I want those teachers, once we hire them, to have the autonomy to say, hey, we really like this curriculum at Work for Reading. Is this something we can try here? Or the math. As a board, I'm okay with giving that to the principal and the teacher to make that final decision as far as the reading and math goes. Because whatever we choose is going to teach the standard course of study. It's going to follow what North Carolina says is recommended.
Let me encourage you, just like I did the last application.
Yes, ma'am.
Go to charter schools that are succeeding, that have the data, and see what they're using.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't try to reinvent the wheel, because especially as literacy goes, you got all kinds of stuff out there.
And we have visited other charter schools here in Durham, and Voyager Academy, we visited that school, and we were really excited about what we saw there with project-based learning and what they were doing in their school.
Mm-hmm. Just make sure you're seeing ones that have closing the gap.
Yes, ma'am.
And have a theory of literacy.
Are you familiar with Teacher Academy that we lost through legislative budget cuts?
The Teacher Fellows?
Teacher Academy.
No.
Okay, Teacher Academy was a program to train the teachers in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And due to budget cuts, it was done away with. We understand now it's coming back. But we have a person in our support group
who trained all the literacy coaches in North Carolina.
Well, and let me just say, the literacy in North Carolina is flatlined and
Yes,
going
right.
down.
Right.
So, look at schools where it's succeeding.
Right.
Because it's not succeeding in a lot of places.
Right. So, and what was the program that you asked about? I didn't hear that.
Reading Street, the one that's outlined in your application.
Okay.
With that being said, I like the idea of, you know, you hire the right administrator and that person, you know, guides the, but it can't be a per teacher choice.
Right.
It has to be a school-wide curriculum that's,
Yeah.
you know, you guys are gonna use with the one.
Right. Yeah. Yes, I am.
How many board members right now? 8?
There's 8. One of them couldn't be here today.
Okay, but how do you resolve a tie with the even number of board members? Or do you guys always agree?
No, no, the chairman makes that decision.
But
It
you don't
does the tie, I'm sorry.
Does the break the tie, yeah.
Yes.
But does the chair vote initially too?
No,
I have concerns about the majority of the board members being required to be parents.
Yes,
I
I
think
do
that it's
too.
really difficult for parents to make fair and balanced decisions about their schools.
About other people's children.
There are a variety of those that are not parents, but I can say from experience, there is no one other than a parent that knows what's best for their child. And we're here on behalf of our children and our surrounding children and those that are going to be at our school.
I know that parents are the best people to make decisions about their child. The problem is that oftentimes you think is best for your child is in direct conflict with what is best for the majority of children, and that's where we get into trouble.
And where we have a conflict of interest based in our ready to open processes. So if it's something that is directly related to our child and it affects them, then we recuse ourselves.
But I mean, that's like the whole board.
But that's difficult to do when the whole board is here.
Yeah, and I mean, and you have,
And
you become beholden to the whims of your parent population, which a lot of times decisions you have to make as a, that puts your school leader in a really tough position, being basically their boss is a bunch of parents of the kids.
Right,
Is the
and
PTA.
we'll also be seeking other board members with other expertise within that are not parents.
Right, but I believe it says in the application that the majority of the board will be parents.
It does, and then it goes further to say, the board members will be recruited based on whether or not they're a good fit. So a good fit with whom? The other board members? Do you have to be part of my bridge club?
Well, each of them have to be passionate on the mission of our school.
And I think that good fit also relates to, we want to focus on the agriculture and related industries in the county. We want somebody from agriculture on the board. We want, if we can, a boat builder on the board. Somebody that the kids know and can relate to within their community that will bring this focus in that we want.
I'll add, just as the chair of a current charter school board as well, I share those concerns about the number of parents on the board. And I would say this, if she were here today, she loves me, I love her as a board member. But even having one parent on the board, let alone the majority of the board, is
difficult.
Very, 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 difficult. I hear everything you're saying about the background and the quality of the people, and I think you've got a quality board here sitting in front of us today, but I would, it gives me pause, because issues just come up that you can't imagine that will put your head of school in a very difficult position.
I mean, I understand what you're trying to do. You're a community school, we're a parent school, we're trying to, but they're just, where the rubber meets the road on this stuff, it gets really messy. And it's just,
Two of the
think
eight
that
are-
I hate that it's like in the bylaws. Like you can have a goal, but as the priority shifts, you have the challenge here where it's become so core to what you're doing. It's difficult to untangle it.
Well, you can always think about it. Bylaws aren't written by the finger of God in the tablets, so you can change them. you know, and I think they make some good points. I mean, draw on the experiences of some of these people here, because there's a whole lot of successful charter school experience, myself excluded from that, around here.
I don't think any of us who are in schools would say we thought working for a group of parents would be a good idea.
Well, we have had discussions around this topic, and I have constantly said to these ladies that as a board member, and when a situation occurs, if you get a call, you say, go to the teacher. You know, you follow the course of due process, because in the end, you may have to be the final arbitrator. And these are things that we talk about. In all of our trips up here to RTO training, we talk about all of these issues and things. So I think they know and understand that there could be, probably will be, difficulties surrounding that. But if you understand, and I think they will understand their position as the final arbitrator and due process, that we can overcome that. We know that we hire an executive director, a principal, headmaster, whatever name you want to give them, and they take care of the day-to-day operations. We are the policy group, the advisory group, the final judge in situations, and that those two things don't mix on a regular basis. I mean, the school is the school, and we are the board.
So are you the one community member with no affiliations with the school?
Yes, ma'am. Except I've been an educator all my life. It's my mission in life to create opportunities for kids. I've tried in several other ways, and I'm old, but I'm not ready to give up. I want to see the kids of Washington County and northeastern North Carolina educated to their full potential.
One of the things that was raised in the impact statement, I would encourage all my board members to read that impact statement, because it's pretty detailed, more thorough than a typical impact statement. One of the things that the superintendent said at the end was, you know, if the school opens, I'd ask that they be required to maintain all the students they enroll, given how difficult it is to gain additional students in the year with additional needs, really subtract from the plans that we have for individual students to be successful. I imagine that issue is exacerbated in the in such a rural community. And I'd just be curious kind of what your response to that is. Do you know what she's talking about when she says that?
Yes. First of all, her letter was all about the money they were going to lose if Poquoson Innovative Charter is allowed to open. That's my personal opinion. Having spent 4 years on that board, that is my personal opinion. It has to do with the 10-day head count and how the money is funded, and if a child comes to us and stays a little while and it's not a workable situation and goes back to them, then, you know, we've gotten money they haven't. That child was not on their 10-day head count.
But we can't require.
Yeah, you can't require.
No, I'm
That's
just
a parent
asking, like,
choice.
do you understand
I was
what
asking
you're...
about, do you
like,
understand how this impacts somebody? And it goes both ways.
I mean, I guess part of it is, like, do you understand if this charter goes forward, this is, you know, it's a possibility it's not going to be as popular across everyone in your community as you kind of envision it will be. There may be a lot of people that are pretty upset about this.
May I ask a clarifying question too, as it relates to the facility? I understand the dynamics of a very small town, but you mentioned the facility that the school would purchase or leases from your own father. Has that been disclosed? Is there any conflict of interest of that in terms of financial gain?
No. There's no conflict of interest. My dad, there's a lease that we have put together. My dad wants this school. This school is a long time coming to our community, and he's ready to work with this and do whatever he needs for us to have a place.
I mean, I think what he's getting at is you would probably need to recuse yourself from any discussion of the board in negotiations on leases and facility things, just because, you know, the conflict is, it's really your conflict because you love the school, but I hope you love your dad too. And so you've got, that's the conflict is between your love for your dad and in the building he has, and your love for the school. And so it's better to let people that are not your dad's daughter make those decisions. That's what we're getting at.
And that's where our other board member, Chip Hilton Chesson, he would weigh in. He's also a part of facility, so.
But you would recuse yourself?
Yes, I would, yes.
Okay.
I am not
That's
gonna
what
be
we
the
were
person
getting at to
stand
ask,
between
yeah.
this. Yes, I am recusing myself, yes.
Okay.
Don't make daddy mad.
Thank you.
I just want to ask one question.
We're
Where
gonna
will
plan
the school
on-
be? Will it be in Crossville?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I was there several years ago. People, I knew some people there. Peanut country is around there somewhere. Do they raise peanuts in that county, or is it one that's close by?
It's around, but Chowan and Bertie mostly raises
okay.
peanuts. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, the facility is an old school. Was a school at one time.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It's just a church right now?
We use the auditorium in one classroom for a church.
But that building is ready to go.
Yes, yes, sir.
On the organizational chart, can you explain the legal team and the finance team and who makes those teams up?
So we're currently seeking part of our legal, but that also stands within our team with Alliance Education Services. They will cover that section with us. Hilton Chesson and myself will cover financing and that kind of thing.
So, because I think the way the chart, it was confusing because it was like they were offshoots, so they are like committees of the board.
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
They are offshoots of the board. So you've got the board, and then those two teams are comprised of members from the board.
Yes, and we have a pre-identified a lawyer, legal counseling.
Somebody with education experience.
Yes, ma'am.
Lawyers know everything.
As someone who's dealt for many years with small rural communities and difficulty with recruiting engaged board members, the reality is you're going to get parents who have a real concern about that school on your board. So whether you call it a majority or not, you're likely to have that. The one thing I would recommend, and we've had some discussions about even policy best practices, come up with a creative idea to have a due process. We talk about due process with everything, but I guarantee you there will be times when your director and your school board disagree on an important matter for the school. Right now, the way the law is, the board has all the authority, so the director is always under the gun that, well, so-and-so's child's not happy, I'm in trouble because I have no recourse. So think about a way to implement some due process when there's disagreements between your school head and your board. There's nothing written out there that's a good model to use. I hear some private schools have some interesting concepts there. But I would strongly, urge you as a rural school in particular with a very small community to think about ways to resolve some of those future issues that I promise will arise.
If I could add, when you're choosing fresh board members, if they're parents, I agree with what you're hearing here. The parents that come on the board need to be able to take in the bigger picture. They can't be focused in on their children or the clique that their children are associated with. You've got decisions to make that affect the whole school, and the new parents coming on have to push back and detach themselves from their own personal situations. So you've got to pick parents for the board that are capable of doing that and are not helicopter parents or.
And they all say they can do that. That's the challenge.
That's a challenge.
I can speak to, in the community meetings that we've had, we have had what we would consider a large number for our rural area of retired educators and administrators that are in support of a school still being in the town of Crestwell that I think would be more than willing if we reached out to them to join our board so that we as parents could take a step back and fill that, that need. I really think the support would be there.
I think it needs to be a balance. You know, it shouldn't be all one or all the other. But according to the application, it very specifically says it's going to be a parent-run school, basically. And that, you know, I went, when I read that. I would highly recommend that you get more educators, more, you know, people with finance, all the areas that you guys have to manage as that board.
Absolutely. We will definitely take that advice.
Well, we sure are being mean to parents. I mean, you know, and I understand what you're saying 100%. I do. You know, there is a difference between having parental choice and where your student goes to school and parents. I mean, if a parent wants to run the school, go through the non-public education department and you get a homeschool and you can run the school exactly, but when you make that choice to send your kid to the charter school, you're ceding some of your educational authority over the child to the charter school. So I think you have to remember that. I feel like the more that we talk about this, we're focused in on issues that I think could be major, but right now are pretty minor. When you look at the whole scope of the thing, I'm as excited about it as when we started talking about it. And I think the more and more you look at something, you'll see the imperfections in it. The more you talk about it, you'll see the imperfections in it. There's never been a perfect application, but I think this is a very good application.
Stephen, I can say with experience that I was a parent on that rural schools board. But
you were the troublemaker.
Shut up. But the structure of ours was such that there were 3 equal parts. So there was community, parent, and staff. So
3 branches of government.
3 branches. No one had more power than the other. But that was so that each, because that's our mission, so that each component would have the voice. But, you know, I mean, not all parents are as exceptional as I am. And not taking.
No, we understand that this board is a rare breed, and in our rural area, someone has to take the first step, and that's where we began, and we will continue to seek those expertise people to add to our board.
Right, and with that being said, from my experience and from my school, yes, you know, it was a very delicate balance because you might get that parent that was disconnected or had the axe to grind. Same with the community member or the staff member. So, you know, it's a very delicate balance.
Which
having the right people and the terms. How long will this committee group stay?
Yeah, it's going to take 5 minutes.
What you just described, that your small town, you have to do this, I completely understand. The only thing that gives me pause is that you have it in your bylaws that it must be 50%. And that can be changed if we're wrong and it doesn't work out, then that can be changed.
All right. All right. Any further discussion, any items that we want to raise specifically with the board before we close kind of questioning and discuss?
My 2 major concerns were the mission, which they've cleared up nicely, and was the concerns about the board. And of course, you know, with the county, I hope that the area can support these enrollment numbers. But I guess.
What was their break even? What was your break even?
Our break even is 80. And based on our pre-selection, we've already exceeded that. We've had at least 124 already fill out our pre-applications just within this last month.
That's a break even when you adjust the budget,
Yeah,
right?
what's a break even without adjusting the budget at all?
What's your surplus on your projected budget?
I'm sorry, say that one.
On your projected budget right now, what's the surplus? I can pull it up real quick.
Yeah, it's got it right.
It's 90-some thousand? 90,000.
So you're looking at what, 10
schools.
students?
That-
10.
That can't be right because their first year enrollment is 250. Your break even's not 80.
No.
Yeah,
No,
no,
no, no, that's with
Budget
adjustments.
is adjusted.
I'm,
It should be like 240.
when we start talking about how we do the application next year, I think we need to include a paragraph on how to calculate a break-even number.
Yeah.
Because I think there's been one school of all the applications I read this time that actually calculated the break-even number correctly. So, not dissing y'all, everybody else has done it too. They say, well, our break-even, if we change this and this and this and this, that's not a break-even number is, how many students do we have to have under our current budget to have no
To make the
deficit?
budget work.
Yeah, so.
What number was that?
240?
It's gonna be about 240 without any budget modifications, but they've identified modifications
That's
where as low as 80 students they could be solved.
I think that's a very razor thin margin for a rural school like that. The
You say
rate-
you have 124,
124 pre-applications already identified within the last month from our previous meeting.
And that's with the grades K-8.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So you're enrolling K to 8. I didn't even realize that.
No, so it's K to 8.
250K to 8.
Yeah.
That's gonna be
Not
one
gonna be
class
too big.
per.
Correct.
Okay, so let's look at it like that. 250, that's with an even number in each grade? Or are you gonna do combination grades to make it?
Well, that's gonna depend on enrollment.
That's right. So what if you have 10 kindergartners and 50 eighth graders?
Correct.
What is these projected applicants? What do the numbers look like? Like where are they coming from?
Like, where are they location or what grade level?
Grades,
Grade wise.
distribution.
I don't know if
Joe.
I have some of that.
she has some of it, okay. So right now, do you want me to go each grade level?
Yeah.
Okay, so kindergarten 19, first 7, second grade 10, third grade 13.
Oh,
Oh.
no, this is this part. Yeah,
You wrote this.
Yeah, kindergarten is 28.
Oh, okay.
First is 14. Second grade is 13. Third grade's 21. Fourth grade 12. Fifth grade 11. Sixth grade 12. Seventh grade 12. And eighth grade 11.
And that's what you got
those
right
numbers,
now?
Yeah,
even
right
with
now,
school-
yes, ma'am.
How's that happen?
Right now.
That's just one county.
That's
That's-
the surrounding, we have,
But most of those are based on 2 counties within Washington Terrell County, and 1 out of Hyde County.
yes, right. It was 8 out of Hyde.
8 out of Hyde.
Yep.
Okay, like, those are kind of odd numbers. Like, how did you come up with those?
It's just the way.
Oh,
that-
what they come, okay,
that's their
okay.
pre-application.
I thought that was the class size.
It may be the class sizes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to determine
Yeah.
how they're gonna run. So what?
Well, I mean,
what's-
that's the problem with,
What's
that's
the
why you have to have
projected
a really
staff?
low break-even number because with spreading across K-8, I mean, because you might not, you know,
Lots of good looping to do.
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah,
Combined.
because you
It's
got
hard to do.
14 teachers.
opening K to 8 is
14.
hard.
They put 14
I mean, you don't have a
teachers in.
choice, I guess, but
It's 9 classroom teachers if you ran a class of every class. Elective teachers.
Got 2 electives.
How many teachers did they project?
14.
Should we do away with grades, just ability?
well, so are you gonna have your middle school teachers teach 6th, 7th, and 8th grade? You're gonna have to, right?
Most rural schools do that.
Yeah. Middle
That's,
school.
that's not unusual at all.
Well, I know we do it a healthy start. It's just not good.
Depends.
It's not good.
That's the other thing. Staffing. Do you think you're gonna be able to pull enough staffing?
Absolutely.
Because again, being in a rural area, wants to attract somebody to move to your area and do
Job.
your job.
That's, yeah, in a rural community, that's what they need more than that.
Their teachers are gonna make more than the average
Yes, I
household
was gonna
income
speak
in
to that.
Washington County.
Exactly
Yeah, so
right.
Washington, Chowan, Terrell, your second largest employers are the school system. Yes, ma'am.
What is your first larger?
The hospital and or the mill in Washington County. It's the Domtar
It's actually not.
All right, I'm
County,
gonna,
yeah.
thank you. I'm gonna
Yes.
push us to have a conversation here so we can get to our clarifications. How are people feeling about this?
I like it, and I will move that we recommend to the state board that Pocosin Innovative Charter School go through the ready opening process on the accelerated track, and that they open in the fall of 2019.
Second.
All right, it's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I'm gonna vote for it, but I do think that our take on the LEA impact statement may be different than the state boards. Because the LEA is part of what they have to worry about too. So just that
be aware.
they may see it a little differently. They may see that impact statement a little differently than we do.
It's pretty strong.
Show me an LEA impact statement that says we've got A's and B's. Why does somebody want a charter? And I'll be like, let me shed a tear for the LEA. You got all D schools. I'm not gonna cry for you. I mean, that's just me.
No, but what Cheryl's saying is that
I understand what Cheryl's saying.
you know what Cheryl's saying,
I understand what she's saying, but it's just, you know,
and it's sad.
you're gonna have to have bigger heartstrings to tug at mine.
Yep.
Mine too.
When children aren't being educated, there shouldn't be any question.
I'm just thinking in terms of, because we're asking them to
I mean,
do it
that's
on
all, that's all fine to say.
we're
but
asking them
yeah,
to do it
they're-
on first read.
We're asking, yeah.
There's an LEA impact statement that they have to care about. I just think that this may not be may not go easy.
That's why we have Alex, who is very articulate to explain this.
And it's actually not on action on first read, because we did, at the meeting last week, we gave them the proposed acceleration schools. So when we came back with the actual list, that wouldn't be the first time they saw it, so
So they've
it's kind of
seen
a
it.
quasi-action, but
I think it'd be important though, Alex, if when you present it, to also have.
We haven't voted for it yet.
Well, okay. Good point, sorry. But I think, going to what Cheryl was saying, it'd be important for them to see some of the performance data with the impact statement.
Sometimes they just go merely on the impact statement, and I'm taking that from direct experience too.
Are there any more people of color on your board that aren't here today?
It's time. What's the percentage of people of color in your county or in your city?
It's about half and half. It's 48 African American, 45 Caucasian.
Is there a reason then that you don't have African Americans on your board? Is there a reason then, have you not, like, I imagine African American parents are concerned as well.
Yes, yes, ma'am. They are.
It's hard for anybody, it's very difficult for anybody to take off the amount of time off of work. It's taken us a lot of traveling time for RTOs. We went to the summer conference. It's not that easy for those parents to take that time off of work and to dedicate that time for this. They support us, they have our back, but they're like, we've got you, but we cannot take off work.
Do you anticipate that your enrollment will reflect the demographics of your county?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And like he stated, we're almost 100% low economic Title I school. All the surrounding counties are Title I schools. I mean, it's just the way it is where we live.
Could I have the mayor come up? Because I think this is important.
Yeah, yes, sir.
You know, I think the issue of race in education is very important, and you know, ensuring that there's equity. You know, I'm looking at a mostly white board in a 50-50 county, and you know, there's concern that the school is gonna basically be a white flight school. I'm gonna call it what it is. That's what I'm thinking about.
Well, and I understand that, and I appreciate that, but the way I see it, you're gonna see an issue with race anywhere, and you don't hear a whole lot of negative, whether it's gonna be all white or all black. I mean, I'm the first African American mayor. I get support from these ladies, and I don't see color, I don't see race. We all won. So I mean, it shouldn't be an issue because I'm the only African American on the board, and there may be more that want to come aboard. And I have a hard time getting off. I'm a head teller supervisor. I have a hard time getting off to come with them, and I applaud them for the good job that they're doing. And so I don't think race should play an issue in anything of this. So.
No, we're saying that we're afraid.
Oh, I mean, it's okay to be afraid, but I'm not afraid.
I'm not afraid.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay to be afraid.
I'm concerned that
Concerned.
that
Yeah,
African American families feel comfortable when they see a board that is mostly white. And I want that, it's important that we have equity, because the reality is African American Latino kids in North Carolina are being left behind.
Well, I
That's
haven't
just a
seen
reality.
that or heard that, so I can't.
I mean, that's what the data says.
Right, the data
right?
says, but I haven't seen or heard that. If they answered your question,
I mean, I defer to the mayor on knowing the town better than I do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just,
There are many African American families who sent their children to Bertie County, to the Heritage Leadership, then Three Rivers, which didn't make it.
Technically
they're still trying.
They're still open.
There's still a pulse.
But these families are not concerned about the board, they're concerned about the education of their kids. And this school, we want it to be totally diverse. We have Hispanic communities, we have Vietnamese communities, we have the black, we have the white, and we just want to educate kids. And I think that's what the parents want. They want their kids educated.
I don't disagree. I think parents of all racial
hasn't been an
backgrounds
issue.
want to educate their kids. I think
Okay, she said
Our pre-applications reflect that diversity.
that's good to know, and I think that it would be helpful for your board to have a parent, because most of the board right now is going to be potentially, how many of you have kids that are school age? Right. So all of you except for the mayor and our and the right and the are out of area. So you need to have an African American parent who is going to send their kid to this school on this board.
Yeah.
That needs to happen.
I think it shows, I think the board would show a commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion if you
Absolutely.
diversify your board.
And we knew this would probably come up, and we've talked to it, and we know this is something that we need to, but we're just trying to get it.
I understand.
I'm
going.
preempting what I'm going to do with the state board.
I may not live in Cresswell, but I do live in Washington County, and I'm working and have been working for several years now to improve Washington County. My husband is in business, and we don't have an educated workforce there. And education is just priority one, job one, where we live. And you keep talking about the diversity of the board. These were the 5 young women that stood up and said, we've got to do something, and nobody knew what to do, but they were willing to take a step forward and try something, anything, to get a quality education into our county. Yes, this will never be a finished process or product. There will constantly be revisions where we see that we can improve the education, the community relations, where we can improve in all areas. It's going to be ongoing. We'll never be finished.
Okay, great. So we have a motion. It's been properly moved and seconded to move Poquoson Innovative Charter forward on an accelerated timeline. Any further discussion on the motion? All right, all in favor? Heather? All right.
Aye.
Motion carries, so we don't need to vote for a standard ready to open, I guess, because they're accelerated. Congratulations, you're the first one of the day and the year, I guess. Congratulations. I think you might be the first ever.
You're the first in the state.
Don't let us down.
Thank you. And we'll try really hard not to.
Okay, so it's 3:15, 3:16. I'm going to keep us moving. If you need to use the facilities, just go ahead and take care of that on your own time while we're working.
Thank you.
We're going to bring
Those two together, right?
We're going to bring North Raleigh.
Well, that's the same board. Can't we do North Raleigh and Wendell Falls together?
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So before we start, I would like to remind.
Thank you for all you're doing and your support.
I would like to remind the board of the time limits for clarification interviews. The clarification interview is an up to 30-minute opportunity for the applicant to address the board. I'll give a brief overview, 2 minutes. Applicant introductions, they will have up to 5 minutes to make a statement and provide introductions.
Phyllis.
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 Hey, Phyllis.
Phyllis. Phyllis, can you guys go in the hallway?
The committee will then have up to 15 minutes to discuss the application, up to 5 minutes to deliberate and vote at the committee level, and then 3 minutes to send that recommendation to the full board.
Great. And so this is Raleigh and Wendell. It's the same board, so we're going to take them. We want to, obviously, we got to do both.
Yeah, I'll have to do both pass-fail ratings. And
Yeah,
that kind of
okay.
thing. Okay. The applicant appearing before the board today is North Raleigh Charter Academy. They're proposing to locate in Wake County. Their proposed grade levels and projected student enrollment are as follows. Year 1, K through 6, 615 students. Year 2, K through 7, 690 students. Year 3, K through 8, 765 students. Year 4, K through 8, 765 students. Year 5, K through 8, 765 students. We do not have an LEA impact or due diligence completed for this application. Pass-fail ratings are as follows. Mission, purposes, and goals, 4 pass, 1 fail. Education plan, 4 pass, 1 fail. Governance and capacity, 4 pass, 1 fail. Operations, all pass. Finance, all pass. This applicant is requesting a replication. They are a repeat applicant. They previously applied for Cardinal Charter West. They are planning to partner with Charter Schools USA. I'll go ahead and move on and do a brief introduction of Wendell Falls Charter Academy as well. They are proposing to locate in Wake County also. Their proposed grade levels and projected student enrollment are as follows. Year 1, K through 6, 615 students. Year 2, K through 7, 690 students. Year 3, K through 8, 765 students. Year 4, K through 8, 765 students. Year 5, K through 8, 765 students. We do not have an LEA impact or due diligence completed. Pass-fail ratings were as follows. Mission, purposes, and goals, all pass. Education plan, 4 pass, 1 fail. Governance and capacity, 3 pass, 2 fail. Operations, 4 pass, 1 fail. Finance, 4 pass, 1 fail. The same requests apply. They are asking for application. Their repeat applicant previously applied for Cardinal Charter West, and they're planning to partner with Charter Schools USA.
Hi there, board. Thank you for your time this afternoon. I'm Alan Taylor, board chair of Cardinal Charter Academy in Cary. This morning we received our 10-year renewal notice, so we were very excited about that. We are coming before you with 2 applications. They're identical except for their location, and they are both in Wake County. One is in Wendell, which is on the far west side, east side of Knightdale, and then one in the North Raleigh area. We have most of our board represented here today, as well as our principal and a couple of people from the administration as well of Charter School USA. With that, the clarification interview. This is my first clarification interview, so I'm looking really for your lead on how we should methodically go through these. And
just, you've got 5 minutes to make your case. That's it.
Okay, so then
10 minutes total.
Okay, so first off, then the one question I think that was directed more at the board was the governance structure. We have a lot of history in operating the governance structure and working with our management company and operating a school successfully. We have a board. We understand the board has full control of the budget. We work very close with the management company, Charter School USA, for successful outcomes. We also try to always prioritize the needs of our school through our principal. So that was a bit of a generic question in there, but I think we're well established in how we operate as a board successfully. There's a lot of educational questions, and I'm going to defer now to our principal to help with some of those educational questions.
Good afternoon. It's nice to see many of you again. And I would also like to echo what Mr. Taylor said, which is thank you so much for the 10-year recommendation for renewal, and thank you so much for everything that you do. We are very excited about these schools and the educational programs. I think that one of the things that really sets us apart as a school at Cardinal Charter Academy is the use of data that we do every single day with all of our student grade levels from kindergarten all the way up through 8th grade is really vitally important to us, that we have the data, we utilize our data to inform our planning processes and to ensure that the curriculum that we're teaching is exactly what our students need when they need it. Our teachers are it's very important to us that our teachers plan daily with each other in PLCs and utilizing that data to inform what they are teaching.
Other questions? Could you introduce who's here today?
You want me to introduce everybody, or do you want them to
They
come
can
up?
just come up.
Okay. Well, I'm Becky Draper. Sorry, I'm the principal at Cardinal Charter Academy.
I've introduced myself, Alan Taylor. I've served as chair. Also work in finance and private equity here in the Triangle. And then Lee Teague.
Lee Teague, board
Hi,
member, charter advocate, real estate agent, etc.
Hi, Megan Christie. I'm a board member and a parent at Cardinal Charter Academy.
I'm Elaine Shamel. I've been a board member since the beginning of Cardinal Charter. Retired educator, 36 years, and instructional resource teacher as well as classroom teacher.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Alex Krawczyk, board member, soon to be parent, I think, at Cardinal Charter. Live in Cary, founder and CEO of a tech company in Durham, North Carolina. Thank you all for what you do. I'm also a lifelong student.
I have a question off the bat. Oh, you need it. Well, you've already introduced yourself.
Yeah.
I guess my question has to do with, I was really amazed with the granular level of data that you could get on the communities that you're proposing, the Environmental and Social Research Institute mapping software. Is that something that's like publicly available, or is that something that Charter Schools USA has developed? Because I got a feeling a lot of people would like to play around with that.
You can buy it.
Me included.
You can buy it.
You can buy it.
You can buy it.
Okay. Maybe, well.
We pushed pretty
You have
hard
to go to
trying
the
to
mic.
get.
Can you go to the
Yeah,
mic?
yeah, we'll have to get you to go to the mic. I mean, because that was just just right off the bat when you go in to see, how granular the data is down to, I mean, you're talking about, 1.14% population growth in that area compared to the United States growth of 0.7%. I mean, it's just good to see that, on such a minute level.
Wow, so I'm trying to keep myself contained here because this isn't the full interview. But since you're talking about that, we've been in front of this board before. This proposal is coming with a site in mind. And so if there's anything that we felt like we could improve on from our past schools, we had a school that we were trying to open in Knightdale, and finding the site location and getting zoning correct is really tough. So we did it in reverse order this time. We did all of our research on the sites, the site locations. We have letters of intent with the site locations, and we're negotiating contracts now so that won't be an obstacle for this time. Off that same vein, we did a lot more research into the demographics, what the schools look like. And I'll go so far as to say that also we are, in our application, have introduced a weighted lottery as well. We have a fear of the white flight as a board, and we don't want to be represented that way. So it's something that we're tiptoeing in, but that's in our application as well. And we know that you guys have some guidance on weighted lotteries tomorrow afternoon. We're going to look for some more clarification from that. But we certainly did our homework on this one, and the board, as well as Charter School USA, really took it to task on making sure that we understood where these schools would be located.
And I have a lot of other questions.
Yeah.
But they all would be interview type questions. I understand the growth in these areas. I drive through Wendell Falls almost every day on my way home, and it went from a field with nothing in it to there's like 800 houses sitting there over the span of like 3 years. So, I mean, the growth's really there. My understanding is that's I looked at the location that y'all had in there, and it's like right beside where all that growth is happening. So.
It's funny, you guys asked the last board how long it took them to get to a Walmart, and I mean, it probably takes me 45 minutes to go to a Walmart, but it's only 6 miles away, so the traffic in the area is getting ridiculous, but there is certainly a population increase.
Excuse me, forgive my ignorance, but how will the boards operate? Will the board be common to the 2 new schools?
Yes.
Your existing Cary board?
Yes. Yes.
So it's one board, that was my question, one board for 3 schools?
Yeah, so we as a board have developed a lot of efficiencies. We're going to have school leads for each one of these schools as well. That's going to assign a board member to more or less serve to make sure that all the issues for that school are being addressed by the board. We as a board have also developed dashboards for each one of our schools that on that dashboard we can see the financial health, we can see the academic success, we can see the cultural health of the school for every one of our board meetings. It's an incredible tool to help us identify places where we need to spend our time as a board and really dive in deeper. So if the finances are looking like they're in good shape, but we see something happen on our 3rd grade academics, we can dive in deeper and really talk about that and set up a more in-depth conversation for our next board meeting. So it's a tool that we have found that has efficiently helped us run our school in Cary.
Will you have 3 different board meetings, or?
We'll have one board meeting held rotating around the sites.
And will you have a parent on from each of the other schools on your board?
Well, as you were talking about voicing your concerns about having too many parents of interest on the board, we do have representation from each one of those communities on our board. We will also look to expand that. I don't think we're necessarily trying to find a parent, but we are trying to find someone that can add something to the board, if that's legal, if that's finance, that also lives in that community.
Thank you.
I mean, I have some other number of other questions and whatnot, but I feel like we're going to talk to them, so
I mean, it's not like we haven't seen this application before, with the exception of the need and stuff. So all my questions are interview questions.
Same.
I move that we bring North Raleigh Charter Academy and Wendell Falls Charter Academy for a full interview at our next meeting.
Second.
All right. It's been moved and seconded by, we'll give it to Heather. She's been quiet. Any discussion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. We'll see you for the full interview.
No.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, this is, that's right, this is clarification.
Okay.
Well, I move to the policy committee. I move that we recommend to the full charter school advisory board that we bring these 2 schools forward for a full interview.
Second.
All right, any discussion or debate? Sorry, I'm coming. I don't know who's leading this one because we combined one. One of us were leading one and one was leading the other. So, all right, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, on behalf of the policy committee, I move that we bring these 2 schools forward for a full interview next month.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second. Any discussion? Hearing none.
Aye.
All in favor? All right. Thank you. See you in a month.
February.
February. All right. And now Achievement Charter Academy.
We're back on.
Back on time.
Back on time.
Told you we could do it.
Where's the other one? Oh, she's already moved it.
Almost to kind of Wakefield area.
Danielle gets, oh, where'd she go? All right, I'll introduce them. For you, you have Achievement Charter Academy, which will locate in Wake County, Harnett County. The person that wrote the application lives in Harnett County. In year 1, they're proposing to have 162 students in grades K through 5. Year 2, 184 K to 5. Year 3, 209. Year 4, 234. And year 5, 259. Again, located in Harnett County. We'll ask the board chair and other members of the board to introduce themselves at this time.
Hello, my name is Leaja Horn. I'm the chair of the board of directors for Achievement Charter Academy. I'm currently the principal at a small private school in Harnett County. I am licensed in psychology in the state of North Carolina. I'm currently in a doctoral program in educational leadership, and I am certified in choice theory and the Glasser Quality School model, which is what we intend to use.
Hello, I'm Gina Newell, and I am a teacher. A lot less simpler than what she is, though.
Are you a teacher in a public school or the
Well,
private
let me
school?
answer that. I taught in Wayne County Public Schools for 7 years, and I am now a teacher at a private school.
At the where she's the principal? Or different?
Correct.
Okay.
I'm Barbara Marchione. I reside in Fuquay Varina. I have all my life. I'm a real estate broker, and in full disclosure, I am also on the board of Apex Peak Charter.
I have one more board member that's here who left her phone downstairs that just went to grab it. Her name is Nancy Herrick. She is on the board for the William Glasser Institute. She is also a trainer in the theory that we plan to use. When she gets here, should I have her introduce herself, or should I just
It's fine. We can keep going.
forward? Okay.
So you have 8 board members, and 4 of them are here.
Correct.
Okay.
One is a teacher, could not get a sub. One is the manager of the bank. He could not miss a meeting that he had. Who are the other 2? Cindy's husband had surgery today, and Ray was not able to make it due to work.
If we had if we bring you back for a full interview, would you be able to get
Absolutely,
everybody here?
everybody would be here.
How many of the board members work at the school that you're at?
One.
Okay. Aside and yourself.
Correct.
What school is that?
It's Achievement Academy in Fuquay Varina. We've been here before. You might remember us from last
The name
year.
of the name of the private school's Achievement Academy?
It
too?
is.
So what's the relationship between the private school and the proposed?
There will not be one should we move forward and get this. I'm not an owner of that business, so I don't make those decisions. And we're here as a nonprofit to, obtain charter status.
You're just an employee of the private school?
I am an employee. The owner is my mother. I will let you know that, but I am not have no ownership in the business whatsoever. So what she decides to do with that is not part of my decision to do this.
The facility, is it that
It is the
school?
current facility, correct.
So what's gonna happen to the private school?
Well, currently there's 29 students in the private school, and that's a decision that Brenda would be making based on if she had a school leader that wanted to continue on with that project, then I'm assuming that's what she would do. But it would just not be in the facility that we're proposing for this.
So they would move?
Correct. There's only 8 students, or 7 now, in K-5 in that school. 7 total in K-5. Okay, so it is our 3rd time here. We were here in 2012, and we were here last year. Last year, we applied for acceleration, so we were part of the Ready to Open year process up until the point where we were denied. We, based on your recommendations, reached out to people for support and advice in this process. We went to see the superintendent of Harnett County Schools, Aaron Fleming, and got his support. We met with Dave Machado and asked a bunch of questions and got advice. We met with Jay Sykes at the Harnett County Planning Department, and we also met with Greg Sanders and Jamie Stoops, who are opening the closest charter school this coming school year. We improved what we thought and clarified some of the model questions from last year that you guys had, although I do believe that raised more questions because we passed that section last time and this time we did not. So I'd like to just say that the Glasser Quality School model and choice theory are a philosophy and a framework. It does not replace the standards and a rigorous curriculum and performing well on state tests. It is a framework to work within.
Did we see you in the full interview? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. So I think some of the things we added caused a little bit more confusion than we anticipated.
I mean, I'm going to stop you there.
Sure.
I mean, I think we saw them last year. I feel like I want to talk about the content of the application. There's some other clarifying things just about the charter school relationship piece, but not enough, in my opinion, to disqualify them from actually having another interview. So I'm kind of inclined to, like, all the stuff you're about to talk about, to me, is content specific. Like, what you've done, the steps that you've taken, what you clarified in the application, the back and forth about what we scored this time versus last time, that all is into the content. So that's where I'm at. I'm like, we should just talk to them again for a much lengthier period. The application is interesting, the choice theory is interesting, and I think to me, it's worthy of having a conversation.
Yeah, I want to hear a lot more about the theory and thing that really just doesn't go into doesn't fit for a clarification.
Right.
You know, I thought it was clear. I just want to understand.
Right.
I want to be taught more about it, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Right.
We would enjoy that very much.
I move that we, it's our
Yeah,
committee,
it's our
isn't it?
committee.
I move that we move Achievement Charter Academy forward to full interview.
Second.
This is your committee.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? All in favor? All right. Mr. Chair, on behalf of the committee, I will move to the full board that we bring back Achievement Charter Academy for a full interview.
A second.
All right, it's been properly moved in second. Any discussion on bringing the school forward to a full interview? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll see you
Thank
back.
you so much.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Move we adjourn till 8:59 tomorrow morning.
There you go.
I can't believe we got through this without being late.
Just wait for the next 2 days.
Yeah, I'm a little more worried about
Keep
tomorrow.
it popping. Get your boots on. Tomorrow we're getting into it.
And Wednesday too.
Yeah, did you say something that you're not gonna be able to do Wednesday?
Yeah, I need to talk about that.
Y'all enjoy.